Black twins threatened by racist rivals. Unaware they are black belt fighters, Jaylen adjusted his backpack strap as he walked beside his twin sister through the crowded hallway. First day back always felt like this. Eyes following them. Whispers. Trailing behind. "Remember what Dad always said," Jada murmured, her voice barely audible above the hallway chatter. "We're not here to prove anything. Just to learn," Jaylen finished, their father's mantra as familiar as his own heartbeat. The twins moved with synchronized steps, navigating the crowded hallway with the same quiet grace that defined them. 17 years of being black in predominantly white spaces had taught them how to move, how to exist without drawing attention, how to breathe without taking up too much air. Principal Freeman's voice echoed through the speakers. "All students, please proceed to the auditorium for our welcome orientation." In the auditorium, they found seats near the back corner. Strategic positioning. Jaylen noticed how students filled in around them, leaving a small but definite gap. "Same as last year," Jada whispered. Jaylen nodded. "At least they're consistent." From across the room, Bryce Walker's laugh cut through the murmur of conversations. Surrounded by his usual admirers, the school's golden boy commanded attention without effort. "Can you believe they let just anyone in here?" Bryce's voice carried intentionally. His eyes locked onto Jaylen's for a brief, challenging moment. Beside him, Cole Matthews snickered. "Some people just don't know their place." Jaylen felt his sister tense beside him. Under the sleeve of her cardigan, he knew her fingers were forming a fist. A silent response they'd both mastered years ago. "Not worth it," he whispered. "They're talking about us," she replied, her voice steady despite the steel beneath it. "They're always talking about someone. Today it's us." Principal Freeman approached the podium, his voice booming with rehearsed enthusiasm. "Welcome back, everyone. This year promises to be exceptional." As the principal droned on about academic excellence and school spirit, Jaylen noticed Bryce still watching them, whispering to Cole between forced laughs. "He's planning something," Jada murmured. Jaylen nodded slightly. "When isn't he?" After the assembly, they collected their schedules and navigated toward their lockers. The twins had requested adjacent assignments, a small comfort in a space that rarely felt comfortable. "Yo, nice kicks," Bryce called out as he passed, his tone dripping with mock sincerity. "Did they have them in your size, or did you have to?" "Special order?" Cole laughed too loudly. "Maybe they got them from the charity box." Jaylen continued organizing his locker, his movements deliberate and unhurried. Beside him, Jada did the same. Their silence clearly unsettled Bryce, whose smug expression flickered with confusion. "What, nothing to say?" Bryce pressed, stepping closer. Jaylen closed his locker, turned, and met Bryce's gaze directly. He didn't speak, didn't need to. Years of training had taught him that sometimes the most powerful response was no response at all. The bell rang, saving Bryce from the awkwardness of his failed provocation. As he and Cole retreated down the hallway, Jaylen exchanged a look with his sister. "We've survived worse," she said softly. "Much worse," he agreed. "And this time, we're ready." The second week of school brought familiar patterns into sharper focus. Jaylen noticed how Bryce and Cole coordinated their movements, creating accidental collisions in the hallway, knocking books from his hands twice in one day. "Just coincidence," Bryce had said, smirking as he stepped over Jaylen's scattered papers. During lunch, Tyler Brooks slid onto the bench beside Jaylen, his tray clattering against the table. "Those guys are seriously targeting you," Tyler said, nodding toward Bryce's table. "You should report them." "Report what?" Jaylen asked, taking a bite of his sandwich. "That they're jerks?" "Pretty sure the administration knows that already." Maya Lopez joined them, her expression concerned. "It's getting worse, though. They called Jada. Well, I don't want to repeat it." Jaylen's jaw tightened. "What did they say to her?" "Something about how she should go back, even though her family's been here longer than most of theirs," Maya explained. "She just walked away, cool as ice. I don't know how you two do it." "Practice," Jaylen replied simply. After lunch, he found Jada at Her locker. Maya told me what happened. It's nothing new, Jada said, replacing one textbook with another. Dad dealt with worse. That doesn't make it right, Jaylen countered. No, but it makes it survivable. The twins fell silent as Ms. Ross, their English teacher, approached. Her keen eyes missed nothing. Everything okay here? She asked, her tone casual but her gaze sharp. Yes, Ms. Ross, they answered in unison. She lingered a moment longer than necessary. My door's always open if you need to. Talk. As she walked away, Jaylen caught the subtle nod she gave them, one of the few teachers who seemed to truly see what was happening. After school, they headed to Coach Reed's dojo, a sanctuary 3 miles from campus where they'd trained since they were 10. You're both tense today, Coach observed as they entered. School issues? The usual, Jada replied, already stretching. Coach Reed's expression darkened. Remember what I taught you. Your training isn't about fighting, it's about knowing when not to, Jaylen finished. We remember. As they moved through their forms, Jaylen recalled the day they'd first come here, 2 frightened children after their father's passing. Coach, Reed had given them more than self-defense, he'd given them purpose. Double your training this week, Coach instructed as they finished. Something tells me you might need it. Walking home, Jada broke their comfortable silence. Did you notice? Cole watching us between classes. Hard to miss, he was practically stalking you. I think they're planning something bigger, she said. Bryce cornered me after bio, asked if I was too scared to speak up. Jaylen's steps faltered. He what? Don't worry, I handled it. Her smile was small but confident. I told him I save my words for people worth talking to. Jaylen couldn't help but grin. And then Ms. Ross appeared as if summoned by magic, Jada laughed. His face when he realized she heard everything. Their laughter carried them home, a brief respite from the tension building within the school walls. The gym echoed with the squeak of sneakers and the thud of basketballs. Jaylen moved efficiently through the drills, keeping to himself as usual. Coach Wilson had divided them into teams, and naturally, Bryce and Cole ended up on the opposing side. Carter, Coach called. Your team captain against Walker's squad. Jaylen nodded, ignoring the way Bryce rolled his eyes dramatically. Great, now we have to play against the charity case, Bryce said loudly. Jaylen selected his team quietly, choosing based on skill rather than friendship. The game began intensely, with neither side giving quarter. Jaylen's team pulled ahead, largely due to his strategic passing and Tyler's unexpected 3-pointers. Frustration radiated from Bryce with each point they scored. During a particularly close play, Jaylen intercepted a pass meant for Bryce, pivoted, and scored cleanly. Lucky shot, Bryce spat. Then under his breath added, probably the only thing your kind is good at. The words hit like physical blows. Jaylen's hands curled into fists, the training in his muscles urging him to respond. The gym seemed to go silent in his ears, blood rushing hot and loud. What did you say? Tyler stepped forward, but Jaylen placed a hand on his shoulder. It's not worth it, Jaylen said, forcing his voice to remain level. He turned away, every step a conscious choice to walk rather than strike. That's right, walk away, Bryce called after him. Just like your daddy probably taught you. Oh, wait, Coach? Wilson's whistle cut through the tension. That's enough, hit the showers, all of you. In the locker room, Tyler approached Jaylen. How do you let them talk to you like that? If someone said that to me, then you'd give them exactly what they want, Jaylen interrupted. A reason to make you the villain. That evening, Jaylen sat on the porch swing staring at the darkening sky. The door creaked open behind him, and his mother stepped out, 2 steaming mugs in hand. Rough day? Danielle Carter asked, handing him a mug of hot chocolate. Their comfort ritual since he was small. Nothing I can't handle, he replied automatically. She settled beside him on the swing. You know, you sound just like him when you say that. Silence, stretched between them, comfortable and heavy with shared memories. I found something today, she said finally, while cleaning out the attic. I think it's time you had it. She handed him an envelope, yellowed with age. his father's handwriting spelling out "for Jaylen" when he needs it most. "How did you know I needed it now?" he asked. Her smile was sad and knowing. A mother always knows. Later that night, alone, in his room, Jaylen carefully opened the letter. His father's words flowed from the page, wrapping around him like a forgotten embrace. "Son, there will come a day when your silence will be mistaken for weakness, when your restraint will be seen as fear. Remember that true strength isn't in striking first or loudest. It's in standing tall when others expect you to fall. Jaylen." Read the letter twice, then carefully folded it and placed it in his desk drawer. Something settled in his chest. Not peace exactly, but certainty. His father's words had rekindled something he'd forgotten. Standing tall was its own kind of fighting back. "They're planning something for the assembly tomorrow," Maya whispered urgently, sliding into the seat beside Jada in the library. Jaylen looked up from his textbook, instantly alert. "What kind of something?" Jada asked, her voice low but steady. Maya glanced around before continuing. "I overheard Cole in the hallway. Something about putting them in their place once and for all. They mentioned your names." Tyler joined them, setting his backpack down with unusual care. "It's all over the school. Bryce has been telling everyone to watch for the show at tomorrow's Spirit Assembly." Jaylen exchanged a look with his sister, their silent communication as efficient as always. "We could skip it," Tyler suggested. "Say you're sick or something. And let them think we're afraid?" Jada shook her head firmly. "Besides," Jaylen added, "whatever they're planning, they'll just save it for another day if we're not there." Maya fidgeted with her pen. "What are you going to do?" "Exactly what we always do," Jaylen replied. "Nothing they expect." Later, they walked home. Jada finally voiced what they'd both been thinking. "You know this is different. They're escalating." "They are," Jaylen agreed. "But so are we. Coach Reed would say this is the moment we've been training for." Jaylen nodded. "Not the physical training, the mental part." That night, Jaylen reread his father's letter, focusing on one passage in particular. "Words can be sharper than any fist, more precise than any kick. Use them wisely." The next day arrived with an electric tension in the air. Students whispered as the twins passed, eyes following their movements with anticipation. The Spirit Assembly was scheduled for the final period, giving rumors all day to circulate and grow. "Whatever happens," Jaylen told Jada as they entered the auditorium, "follow my lead." They took seats in the middle section, surrounded by students but not isolated. Strategic positioning, just as Coach Reed had taught them. Principal Freeman began the assembly with announcements about the upcoming Spirit Week. Cheerleaders performed, the band played, and normal school pride activities unfolded. Then came the open mic portion, where students could share announcements or performances. Bryce approached the stage with Cole close behind. The gleam in his eye was unmistakable. "I'd like to recognize some special students," Bryce began, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "Jaylen and Jada Carter, would you please stand up?" A spotlight swung wildly through the audience, eventually finding them. Jaylen felt every eye in the room turn toward them. "These two have been so quiet all year," Bryce continued. "So restrained. I thought maybe they deserved a chance to express themselves." Cole stepped forward, holding what appeared to be printouts. "We found some interesting writing in the trash. Poetry, I think, about fighting back and standing up. Pretty violent stuff. From people who act so superior." Jaylen realized instantly what had happened. Pages from their training journal, assignments from Coach Reed about channeling aggression into words instead of actions. Private thoughts never meant for public consumption. He stood slowly, feeling Jada rise beside him. The auditorium went completely silent. "Thank you for the introduction, Bryce," Jaylen said, his voice clear and carrying. "But if you wanted to know more about me, you could have just asked." He moved deliberately toward the stage, each step measured. Bryce's confidence visibly wavered. "Those words you found weren't about violence," Jaylen continued as he reached the stairs to the stage. "They were about restraint, about choosing not to fight even when provoked, something you might want to learn about." The microphone was still, in Bryce's hand, but somehow Jaylen had commanded the room without it. He stopped at the edge of the stage, looking up at his would-be tormentor. "I don't need your spotlight or your stage," Jaylen finished, "but I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. Next time, just ask." He turned and walked back to his seat, aware of the stunned silence and then the slow ripple of murmurs. Bryce stood frozen, his plan spectacularly backfiring. As they exited the assembly, Tyler caught up with them. "That was incredible." The look on his face. "It's not over," Jaylen interrupted quietly. "That was just round 1, 3 days after the assembly." Jaylen received a note in his locker. "Science lab, 4:30. Come alone if you want your journal back." "It's obviously a trap," Jada said when he showed her. "We should tell someone." "And prove what?" Jaylen countered. "That they left." A vague note. "We need to handle this ourselves." "Then I'm coming with you," she insisted. The note said alone. "Since when do we follow their rules?" They stayed after school, telling their mother they had study group. At 4:25, they approached the science wing cautiously. The hallway was deserted, most students and teachers long gone. "Something's not right," Jaylen whispered. "It's too quiet." As they neared the lab door, they heard voices inside. Bryce and Cole, but also others. 4, maybe 5 people. "They brought reinforcements," Jada noted. "Cowards." Jaylen took a deep breath. "Remember everything Coach taught us. Assess, position, control." They pushed open the door together. Inside, Bryce and Cole stood flanked by 3 other boys from the basketball team. The journal lay open on a lab table between them. Well, Bryce smirked. "I said come alone, but I should have known you'd need your sister to protect you." "Just give back the journal," Jaylen said calmly. "Then we all walk away." Cole laughed. "That's not how this works. See, you embarrassed Bryce in front of everyone." "There's a price for that." One of the other boys moved to block the door. The message was clear. No one was leaving until this was settled. "We don't want trouble," Jada said. "Should have thought of that before," Bryce replied, stepping forward. "Hold them." Everything happened in rapid succession. 2 boys lunged for Jaylen while Cole moved toward Jada. But the twins had been anticipating this moment for years. Jaylen sidestepped gracefully, using his attacker's momentum to send him stumbling forward. The second boy grabbed his arm, but Jaylen twisted in the technique Coach Reed had drilled into muscle memory, breaking the hold effortlessly. Across the room, Cole had pushed Jada against a lab table. Her response was immediate. A precise strike to pressure points that left Cole gasping, followed by a sweep that took his legs out from under him. "Stop this now," Jaylen commanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Bryce's face contorted with rage. He charged forward, swinging wildly. Jaylen blocked the first punch, deflected the second, but made no offensive moves. "Fight back," Bryce demanded. "I don't need to," Jaylen replied calmly. This only enraged Bryce more. He lunged again. But this time Jaylen used a simple redirection technique, causing Bryce to crash into a lab table. Equipment clattered to the floor. The noise attracted attention. Footsteps sounded in the hallway, and suddenly the door swung open. Mr. Douglas, the assistant principal, stood there, eyes widening at the scene before him. "What is going on here?" he demanded. Bryce immediately shifted tactics. "They attacked us, sir. We were just studying and they came in and—" "The security camera," Jada interrupted, pointing to the corner of the room where a small black dome was mounted on the ceiling. "It saw everything." The color drained from Bryce's face. In their planning, they had overlooked the most obvious detail. An hour later, the twins sat in Principal Freeman's office as he reviewed the security footage. The recording showed everything clearly. The ambush, the twins' defensive techniques, their restraint despite clear provocation. "I've seen enough," Principal Freeman said, stopping the playback. "Mr. Walker and his friends will face serious consequences for this." Later that night, as news spread throughout the school community via text messages and social media, Jaylen sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands. They had won, but victory felt hollow. "We did what we had to do," Jada said from the doorway. I know, he replied. But nothing will be the same now. Morning brought a transformed school experience. Students parted like water as the twins walked down the hallway, whispers trailing in their wake. Did you see the video? They took down 5 guys without even trying. I heard they're black belts or something. Jaylen kept his eyes forward, ignoring the attention that now felt more suffocating than the previous isolation ever had. This isn't what I wanted, he muttered to Jada. It's not about what we want anymore, she replied. It's about what happened. In first period, Ms. Ross pulled him aside. Principal Freeman wants to see both of you during lunch. Are we in trouble? He asked. Her expression softened. You defended yourselves. The video makes that clear. But there are complications. Those complications became evident in Principal A. Freeman's office. Mr. Douglas stood beside the desk, arms crossed and expression grave. Bryce Walker's father is threatening legal action, Principal Freeman began without preamble. He claims you used excessive force. We used exactly as much force as necessary, Jada countered. No more. The board is concerned about perception, Mr. Douglas interjected. 2 trained fighters against 5 boys who cornered them after school? Ms. Ross interrupted, her voice sharp. Did you watch the same footage I did? Principal Freeman sighed. The simplest solution would be for you both to issue an apology. An apology? Jaylen repeated, disbelief coloring his tone. For defending ourselves. For escalating the situation, Mr. Douglas clarified. We didn't escalate anything, Jada said firmly. We responded. Perhaps if you had reported the bullying earlier. So it's our fault for not reporting sooner? Jaylen couldn't keep the edge from his voice. Not their fault for bullying in the first place? The meeting ended in a stalemate, with Principal Freeman asking them to consider the school's position before making any decisions. After school, Coach Reed was waiting outside the dojo when they arrived. I heard what happened, he said, ushering them inside. Show me exactly what techniques you used. They demonstrated the defensive moves, and Coach nodded approvingly. Clean, controlled, exactly as you were taught. It doesn't matter, Jaylen said, frustration evident in his voice. They still want us to apologize. Of course they do, Coach replied. That's how the system works. But this moment was always coming for you two. What do you mean? Jada asked. Coach sat cross-legged on the mat, gesturing for them to join him. Every person of color who excels in spaces not designed for them eventually faces this choice. Hide your power to make others comfortable, or own it, and accept the consequences. Later that evening, their mother arrived home to find them sitting quietly in the living room. Principal Freeman called me, she said, setting down her purse. Told me about the meeting. They want us to apologize, Jaylen explained. Danielle's expression hardened. For what? Surviving? Being exactly who your father and I raised you to be? She shook her head firmly. No, that's not happening. It might make things easier, Jada suggested hesitantly. Easier isn't always right, their mother replied. And right isn't always easy. But you two? You don't apologize for standing tall. Jaylen felt something settle in his chest, the certainty that had been wavering solidified again. We won't hide anymore, he said quietly, no matter what comes next. The school board meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening. The agenda item read simply, discussion of recent disciplinary incident. Jaylen sat at the kitchen table, staring at the email. They're not even using our names. They're afraid to, his mother replied, stirring a pot on the stove. Names make it real. The house phone rang, a rarity in the age of cell phones. Danielle answered, her expression darkening as she listened. I see. Thank you for letting me know. She hung up. Slowly. What is it? Jada asked. That was Ms. Ross. Bryce's father has hired a lawyer. They're claiming the school created an unsafe environment by allowing trained fighters to attend regular classes. Tyler and Maya arrived shortly after, laptops in hand. We've been monitoring social media, Maya explained, opening her computer to show them. It's spreading fast. The screen displayed dozens of posts about the incident. many including clips from the security footage that had somehow leaked online. "People are taking sides," Tyler added. "But most support you, look." He scrolled through comments. "Those twins were defending themselves. 5 against 2 and the twins are the problem? Make it make sense. This is about race, and everyone knows it." "We started a hashtag campaign," Maya said. "Stand with the twins, it's getting traction." Jaylen rubbed his temples. "This is getting out of control." "It was always out of control," Jada countered. "We just didn't see it." That night, a brick crashed through their living room window, wrapped in a note, "Know your place." Police came, took statements, promised increased patrols. No one believed it would help. "We could transfer schools," their mother suggested as they cleaned up the glass. "Start fresh somewhere else." "Running won't solve anything," Jaylen replied carefully, picking up a framed family photo that had fallen in the chaos. The glass was cracked, splitting his father's smiling face in two. "They'll just find us wherever we go." "Then what do we do?" Jada asked. Jaylen stared at the broken picture, an idea forming. "We speak." Loudly. The next morning, Jaylen requested meeting with Ms. Ross. "I want to address the school," he said without preamble. At the assembly before the board meeting, Ms. Ross studied him carefully. "That's not typically allowed." "Nothing about this situation is typical. The administration might not approve." "Then help me convince them," he interrupted. "Please, this can't just be about us anymore." After a long moment, she nodded. "I'll talk to Principal Freeman." By lunchtime, word had spread that Ms. Ross was advocating for Jaylen to speak at the assembly. Support came from unexpected places. Teachers Jaylen barely knew voiced their approval. Students signed an online petition Tyler created. But with visibility came vulnerability. Anonymous threats appeared on social media. Someone spray-painted "Go home" on their locker doors. "Are you sure about this?" Jada asked as they walked home that day. "Once you speak, there's no going back." Jaylen thought of their father's letter, of Coach Reed's teachings, of the brick through their window. "I think we passed the point of no return a long time ago. We just didn't realize it." The auditorium buzzed with tension. News vans parked outside had confirmed what everyone already knew. This had become bigger than one incident, one school, one town. Backstage, Jaylen took deep breaths, his father's letter folded in his pocket. Jada stood beside him, silent support, radiating from her presence. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "Yes, I do," he replied. "For Dad, for us, for everyone who comes after us." Principal Freeman approached, looking more tired than Jaylen had ever seen him. "The board members are seated. 5 minutes." He hesitated, then added awkwardly, "Good luck." Ms. Ross joined them, squeezing Jaylen's shoulder. "Remember, speak your truth. Nothing more, nothing less." When the moment came, Jaylen walked onto the stage alone. The spotlight felt hot, exposing. The silence was absolute as he approached. The microphone. "My name is Jaylen Carter," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "Most of you know me as one of the twins. Some of you know me as that quiet kid. Others know me now as the fighter." He paused, scanning the audience. Bryce sat in the front row, his father beside him, both wearing identical expressions of cool disdain. "None of those labels tell you who I really am," Jaylen continued. "Just like the labels you put on yourselves don't tell me who you are." He reached into his pocket, unfolding his father's letter. "My father wrote this to me before he died. He knew what it meant to be a black man in spaces that weren't designed for him. He knew what it meant to be silent when you wanted to scream, to be calm when you wanted to fight." The audience was perfectly still now, hanging on every word. He wrote, "There will come a day when your silence will be mistaken for weakness, when your restraint will be seen as fear. Remember that true strength isn't in striking first or loudest. It's in standing tall when others expect you to fall." Jaylen looked directly at Bryce now. "I'm not angry at those who tried to hurt us. Sad for them. Sad that they've been taught that strength comes from making others feel small. That power comes from fear rather than respect." He gestured for Jada to join him. She walked onto the stage, standing strong beside him. My sister and I learned martial arts after our father died. Not to hurt others, but to protect ourselves. To know that we could defend ourselves if necessary. That knowledge gave us the confidence to walk away from fights, to stay silent when provoked, to choose peace over conflict again and again. His voice grew stronger. Until we couldn't anymore. Until we were cornered and attacked and had no choice but to defend ourselves. He looked out at the board members, the parents, the community leaders. Now, you want us to apologize for that? For having the audacity to be both black and strong? For refusing to be victims? The silence was deafening. Even Bryce seemed unable to maintain his dismissive expression. Our silence was never weakness, Jaylen concluded. It was strategy. It was survival. It was what we needed to do until today. But now we choose to speak. And we hope you're finally ready to listen. As they walked off stage, the applause began. Slow at first, then building to a thunderous ovation that seemed to shake the very foundations of the school. Ms. Ross met them in the wings, tears in her eyes. That, she said simply, was worth fighting for. The weeks following Jaylen's speech brought transformations both subtle and profound. Bryce received a month-long suspension. Cole's parents, embarrassed by the publicity, transferred him to a private school across town. Principal Freeman announced the creation of a Diversity and Inclusion Council, with Ms. Ross appointed as faculty advisor. The position came with a promotion and a mandate to develop a comprehensive anti-bullying program with specific attention to racial dynamics. "They're finally listening," Jada remarked as they read the announcement. "For now," Jaylen replied, not quite ready to trust the change completely. Coach Reed's dojo experienced an unexpected surge in new students, particularly children of color whose parents had seen the news coverage. "Your actions opened a door," Coach told them during training. "Now others feel safe walking through it." At school, the twins noticed shifts in how people interacted with them. Some students avoided them entirely, fear or shame creating distance. Others approached with newfound respect, sometimes awkwardly expressed. "Can you teach me that move you used?" a freshman asked Jada in the hallway. "My brother picks on me at home." Instead of dismissing him, Jada smiled. "Come by Coach Reed's dojo after school, first lessons free." That afternoon, they found themselves surrounded by a small group of younger students, eager to learn not just self-defense techniques but how to carry themselves with the quiet confidence the twins had perfected. "Remember," Jaylen instructed, as they demonstrated a simple blocking move, "this isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting yourself. And knowing the difference," Jada added. Mr. Walker's threatened lawsuit never materialized. The leaked security footage had made their position indefensible in the court of public opinion. Instead, a formal apology from Bryce appeared in the school newspaper, clearly crafted by lawyers, but signed with his name. "Do you think he means it?" Tyler asked as they read it together at lunch. "Does it matter?" Jaylen responded. "The words are out there now. They create their own accountability. The changes extended beyond school boundaries. Their mother reported neighbors who had previously avoided eye contact now waved or stopped to chat. Local businesses displayed small window signs reading, 'We stand with the twins,' a community statement orchestrated by Maya's marketing executive mother. "It's not perfect," Danielle observed one evening as they drove past the signs. "Real change takes generations, but it's a start." Jaylen nodded, watching the familiar streets of their town pass by. It felt different now. Not entirely safe, perhaps, but acknowledged. Seen. "Dad would be proud," Jada said softly from the back seat. "He is proud," their mother corrected. "And so am I." Rain pattered against the bedroom window as Jaylen sat cross-legged. On his bed, his father's letter open before him. He'd read most of it aloud during his speech, but the final paragraph remained private. A connection to his father he hadn't been ready to share. The door opened softly, and Jada entered. "Mom said dinner's almost ready." She noticed the letter and sat beside him. "Reading it again?" "The last part," Jaylen replied. I never read past what I shared at the assembly. Jada's expression softened. Want some privacy? No, he said, surprising himself. I think it's time we both hear it. He smoothed the worn paper and read aloud. Jaylen, by the time you read this, you'll have faced trials I can only imagine. Know that your strength doesn't come from your fists or your technique. It comes from your heart, your mind, your spirit. Your black belt is not on your waist. It's in your mind. Remember who you are, not just my son, but a young man whose very existence will challenge others. Make that challenge worth their discomfort. Make your silence meaningful and your words powerful. I am with you in every choice, every step, every breath. Love always, Dad. Silence filled the room, broken only by the steady rhythm of rain. He knew, Jada whispered finally. Even then, he knew what we would face. And he knew we could handle it, Jaylen added, carefully folding the letter. Together. That evening they sat on the front porch with their mother, watching the rain slow to a gentle mist. Steam rose from their mugs of hot chocolate, curling into the cool air. I think I want to frame Dad's letter, Jaylen said. Put it where we can both see it every day. The wall between our beds, Jada suggested. That empty space has been waiting for something. Their mother smiled, her eyes glistening. He would have loved that. The neighborhood had fallen quiet, most families inside for dinner. A figure appeared through the mist, walking slowly down their street. As they drew closer, the twins recognized Mr. Thompson, an elderly neighbor who had lived on their street. For decades, he paused at their walkway, tipping his hat slightly. Evening, Carters? Good evening, Mr. Thompson, Danielle replied. The old man looked directly at the twins, his weathered face solemn. Wanted to tell you something. My grandson showed me that video, told me what you two did. He cleared his throat. You know, I've lived here 63 years, seen this town change bit by bit. He gestured vaguely toward the horizon. What you two did changed something in this town. Something important. Jaylen exchanged a glance with his sister, unsure how to respond. Thank you, sir, he finally said. Mr. Thompson nodded once, then continued his walk. You two changed this town, he called, back over his shoulder. Jaylen felt a smile form, slow and genuine. The weight he'd carried for so long seemed lighter somehow. Not gone, perhaps it never would be, but manageable. Shared. Inside, they found a simple black frame for their father's letter. Together, they hung it carefully between their beds, his words now a daily reminder of who they were and what they stood for. That night, as darkness settled completely, Jaylen lay awake listening to his sister's even breathing from across the room. The events of the past weeks played through his mind, not as a burden but as a story. Their story, one that was still being written. Their silence had spoken volumes, and now their voices would too, quietly, powerfully, just as their father had taught.